Alrighty, welcome to the second talk of this afternoon. And now we have Caitlin Macleod, who will be talking about how you can access and analyze your own social media data. Take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Caitlin Macleod and welcome to KDConf at PyCon AU 2018. KDConf is a thing run by Katie McLaughlin, usually one of the organizers, where people whose name are similar to Katie run a conference. I'm the only Katie speaker, so welcome. But anyway, I'm Caitlin Macleod. I use social media quite a bit, as do a lot of people at the moment. This talk is about downloading archives of your personal data from Twitter and from Facebook, and how I learned to use particular data science tool sets in Python to analyze that data and pull fun stats and graphs out. I'll show you some fun stats and graphs, and you should be able to come away from this talk with ideas for what and how you can play with your own data, as well as fun ideas for new projects, and hopefully an understanding of what I did at the same time. So, I'm Caitlin, again, like to say my name. I've been on Facebook for nearly half my life, and Twitter for a bit less than that. They are both deeply embedded in my personal and private lives. I want to emphasize before I really get into this talk that I'm not a data scientist. I am not necessarily a beginner to Python either. I started doing it in high school, so I've been around for quite a long time, but I don't have a background in data science. So this talk is going to focus on my experience exploring an area of Python that I hadn't really looked at before, as well as identifying which lessons other people should be able to use for their own learning experiences, and how we can all maybe help each other learn new tools. So what is personal data? I'm going to use this particular phrase a bit, so I'm just going to define it right now. Aside from personal information which we insert into forms to identify ourselves and to help websites use us and to interact with us properly, there are records of a lot of actions that we take online. This can answer the following questions. So we've got who, we've got what did I do, what did I search, what did I look at, when did something happen? So there's usually timestamps attached to things, which can be quite useful for circumstantial, like this person did this at this particular time. And where, so geotagging and IP addresses are one way that information can be taken out of your actions. And then sentiment analysis, so how are you feeling, which is a really popular thing for Python to do. A recent progress in the ability to control your own personal information was the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation. This came to effect in May 2018 with huge financial penalties for organizations that didn't comply to it. This is really useful for us, even in Australia, because it means that services had to implement technical processes to retrieve and provide data in machine-readable format. On the right, I've got a quote from it. There's a really good website which has excerpts and readable summaries of this regulation at gdpr-info.eu. Really good. So the thing with personal data using social media websites is that the whole point of these websites is that you're interacting with other people. That means that you might be handling sensitive data from your friends and from people that you've interacted with. So I want you to think about these particular aspects of this before you start downloading your own personal data from these websites. Be careful with their other people's information. Messages are often assumed to be a shared secret, so don't release private conversations that people have had with you onto the internet in the interests of free data. Be careful even about basic information from other people that you know. They may be trying to hide from people who have malicious intents towards them online. You shouldn't necessarily have a knowledge about that, but it is a really important aspect. But also, this can be really great for helping you come up with project ideas. Because you're interacting with other people, there's a lot of different things that you can do there. I was talking with Jack Massey over lunch, who did a real cool thing. He took his messages conversation with his girlfriend from Facebook, and he made an infographic bookmark out of key analytic takeaways. Really cool and exciting, right? But also be careful about that. Some people may not be appreciative of you doing that to their data, so maybe ask consent or just be really excited about it and hope that they're also excited about it. So one of the key takeaways I want you to come away with, and that you can use right away, is how you can download your information from particular social sites. Facebook has a really friendly and well-promoted interface to allow you to do this. I've got the link on my slides, but you can also find it at the top of your settings and privacy menu. So this is your settings menu up the top. We've got highlighted to download your Facebook information, go to this particular link. When you get there, it gives you a set of options down the bottom. So it's got date range, format, and media quality. All really good if you don't want to download a huge amount of data on a particular conference's public internet. So if you are going to download stuff for projects in the next 24 hours, try and reduce the amount of data that you're downloading. There's a lot of data in the results that you get from Facebook. So the downloaded zip, it's quite big. I have a 64 gigabyte hard drive on my computer, so I have an external hard drive that I've had to do everything on. Life is very hard. There are 25 different top-level folders in the Facebook download, some of which might be empty and some of which, such as the messages one, have 1,000 different folders for each message conversation. It also includes the pictures and the voice clips that you've shared with the things, leading to some really good memories, such as my family's conversation, where we occasionally just say things like, hello, and record that and send it to each other. So there's a lot of data in there. Of particular note in this is 1,106 messages, whereas in location, there are 0 JSON files there because I turned that off. The next one is downloading from Twitter. This one is also pretty easy, but it doesn't give you as much. There's a website here called Your Twitter Data. You can access that in your menu, in your settings menu by going on the left. There's a Your Twitter Data setting there. You can also just download it straight from the bottom, but I can't do that anymore because I've requested it too often. On this particular website, they don't necessarily let you download everything about you, but they show you a lot of information, such as your interests and who's advertising to you. It also shows you an age field, which is wrong, or not wrong, it's maybe correct, but it's not very specific. Apparently, I'm both between 13 and 54 and also greater than 65. I'm glad that they've narrowed down that I'm not 55 to 65. But yeah, down the bottom of that page, there's a download your Twitter data button, as well as Periscope. But they don't let you download your images from Twitter images, which I'm not quite sure about. So it takes a little while to prepare, and then it gives you a zip file with a single CSV file. One CSV file with all your tweets. It's in the same format as you get from the Twitter API, which is really useful because a lot of people use the Twitter API. So you've already got a lot of information to go on. So now you have the data. A really interesting idea to keep in mind when thinking about social media sites is one that I actually got from a lecture last year at ANU. So it was a design course, but it was a design course about the internet. So the idea is the fundamental design of a site's interactions defines and shapes the interactions and the use of the platform, as well as the infrastructure behind it. It also shapes the form of data that I'm going to get back and what interesting information I can get out of that. So we'll think about what particular websites are made out of in a second. Understanding the underlying data structure of these sites isn't just useful for understanding their culture, it'll help when we get to looking at the data. So first off, let's look at the original ideas and framework behind Twitter. So users post unchangeable tweets. You can never edit your tweets on Twitter. You can delete them, you can post a new one exactly the same a second later, but it will not be the original tweet that you've changed. These are public by default, although they added extra controls around that later. Relationships in Twitter are represented by following or being followed by, and you can mention, reply to, retweet, and like tweets from other users. Twitter is pretty simple at its base, and a great target for data analysis for that particular reason. Facebook, on the other hand, has so many features. It has a really useful Wikipedia page about features and when they were added, which I love. I referred to that several times while I was doing this, and I hope I put in the citations. So we're going to focus on the basics for now, so what it started off as. So first off, you can post on your own timelines, or other people's timelines if you want. You can represent relationships with friendships, and you can action those relationships with like reacting, by commenting, sharing, tagging, posting. There's a lot of other stuff on Facebook, but that's all I'm going to really go on for now. Messaging structures, so we use messages a lot on both of these platforms, are pretty similar across both, so I'm just putting them together. The basic difference is in the definitions of relationships. Twitter focuses on following instead of friendships, but also Messenger recently added contacts instead of friendships. So you don't have to be a friend on Facebook to be a contact on Messenger. I'll bring these back up again, so don't worry about remembering everything about each platform. But let's get on to doing some analyzing. So I've downloaded the data. I don't know what to do with the data. I've scrolled through the CSV in Excel, so I know what's in there. And I opened up some JSON files and opened up some pictures that I'd sent. There were a lot of cat pictures, no surprise. I knew about the idea of pandas, matplotlib, and natural language processing in Python, and I wanted to try those out. So I downloaded the Anaconda distribution, which comes in with a lot of really cool stuff, including Jupyter Notebooks, which is how I've actually been working on this stuff. So we've got Anaconda is the distribution. Jupyter Notebooks is a really cool way of intermingling code and also Markdown. And then we've got the natural language toolkit, which I haven't actually used, and the matplotlib. I've also used NumPy and a little bit of pandas, but I'd love to learn more about pandas. So first off, we'll look at Twitter. It's real easy. It's a CSV file, as I mentioned before. There's not a whole lot of stuff in it. There's 8 columns and then several tweets, many tweets, maybe 4,000 tweets. But yeah, so it's fundamentally about your own profile. Public data is commonly used to research trends, usage patterns, sentiment, and there's only data in this archive about tweets, so there's nothing about reactions, likes, following people, nothing about that. So first off, I wanted to get the tweets into some format that I could use. I found a library called CSV. Great. But yeah, so you open the file, you read it into a dictionary because I love dictionaries, and then you count how many tweets you have, which is 4,664 tweets. I've got an example of one of the dictionaries that it pulls out for you here, which is my most recent tweet when I actually did this, which is talking about a cool tip for sed. If you like sed, you can replace slashes with hashes or various characters. I love it. And it's real good. It also tells you who you're replying to and what tweet you're replying to. But not, actually I'll point this out. It doesn't do in reply to user ID using a handle. It uses it using their user ID. I never really bothered to relate that to an actual user. So first off, I wanted to make a histogram of tweets. So basically just a frequency histogram to say, during this particular amount of time, I did this many tweets, the next to the next. And I wanted to specify the time period. So here are some cool tips that I found. Datetime.datetime.striptime, or stripptime, is a function to parse a formatted string into a datetime.datetime. Pandas actually does date ranges for you. I didn't use this, but it can be it generates dates during a particular range so that you can think about making those buckets yourself. But then I found out that actually matplotlib does that entirely. So you can use a histogram in matplotlib and put them all together. I've just realized I've paused my timer. All right, so, but then I also ran into some efficiency. I'm using a MacBook Air. It's not very fast. Matplotlib sometimes takes a bit of work. So I converted my timestamps into actually just the matplotlib.dates time format, which is a number. Really easy. So here are the histograms that I came up with. I can show you the code in a bit, but I'll show you the code for a couple of other things with Facebook. I made a lot of tweets. So I signed up in 2011, as I mentioned earlier. This is over 500 tweets in like less than 6 months. On a previous one, it said that I had over 1,000 in my first year. I think most of those are directed at my friend Libby. Yeah, I think we were just really excited by Twitter at the time. A lot of these are probably also conference tweets. So the next piece of information that I wanted to get out of it was mentioning different people. So I have a sister and I have a friend who use Twitter, and then I have a lot of other people that I talk to. Because I didn't have following or anything like that in the CSV, I wanted to get out anything that I could get out about other people. For me, that was mentions. So I've got 3 steps that I've been following for most of these things, which is 1, identify what data structure I want to get this data into. That was kind of hard for me because I didn't know what graphing tools I could be using. So I often changed that goal a few times throughout. And then I wanted to extract the necessary data into that format, and then I wanted to make a picture or a table or something like that. First off, I wanted to make a table, or histogram. I just copied the code from the previous thing, and I did exactly that. That was terrible. First off, it took a long time. This is only like 1,000 people that I've mentioned. I've mentioned a lot of people, and you can't read it. People shouldn't be made into categories. Histograms are not made for people. So I didn't do that anymore. Next off, I decided that I just wanted to get the data out some way. So I just made a print statement, and I took the top people out of that. So first off, I've got my sister Marin, Merxflat 642, my friend Livy 617. I should note that this doesn't count capitalization, so I haven't actually figured out who won. It also doesn't count when they change their usernames, so there's a lot of interesting stuff on there. I think a lot of these are like conversations. I'm not sure why I've got 105 with myself. I don't think I talk to myself on the internet very much, but it's there. And there were 836 usernames that I only mentioned once. So that might be people that I've just retweeted once, or people that like, oh, hey, you've got a typo on your website. That's all the conversation we're gonna have. So next off, I wanted to figure out what else I could get out of this, or like a more useful thing than the previous histogram. So I made a also pretty bad histogram using a sorted list of my top mentions, the top people that I've mentioned. We can see here that Livy and Marin are pretty close. Here's a slightly better one, so I just took it down in the top 25. So you can actually read them, I hope. And there we go. I also changed the color. They're both good colors. Then my next project that I want to do with my Twitter data is sentiment analysis, but I didn't do that. If anyone wants to hang out on a sprint day, I'm here on Monday, and teach me how to do sentiment analysis, that would be lovely. I really want to get the feelings in relation to particular hashtags. I've used a lot of conference hashtags over my life on Twitter, and that would be really nice. Next off, we've got my Facebook data. So Facebook, as I mentioned earlier, so many data, a lot of data. There's a lot that I can still do with this. And for this one, I'm actually going to show you the Jupyter notebook that I've been using. So it's not live coding, don't worry. I've already run it. I intermingled my Jupyter notebook stuff with comments about what I want out of the next piece of data, notes about what I found interesting during that time, and then also comments. I don't think I've got any swear words in there. There might be. But yeah, so basically, if you want to use this particular Jupyter notebook, I'm going to release all of this. You can replace this with a path name to your own Facebook download. I'll figure out the categories for you and then hope they match what I've typed in manually myself. But yeah, so you can download this yourself. This is some complicated data about trying to figure out how many folders there are and how many JSON files there are. At some point I wanted to figure out how many pictures there were, but I didn't get around to it. That would be a nice thing to do. But yeah, so the first thing I wanted to do with Facebook was figure out how many reacts I've done. I have a hypothesis that I did a lot of love reacts. I'm in a lot of cat groups. Love reacts are compulsory. I'm not going to spoil the result. The React format looks like this. So you've got the timestamp, you've got the data with the reaction, love, and the actual Caitlin Chai Macleod. My name is Caitlin Chai Macleod on Facebook. It used to be Caitlin Chai Maclatte, but they didn't let me keep that. And as we can see, I reacted to a Whittaker's Chocolate Lovers video, which is a New Zealand chocolate. Reacts other than like were introduced pretty recently in this one, so I expected a lot of love reacts, but not as many as the like reacts because it was so long. Yeah, so first off, I just loaded the JSON file up. There's only the one JSON file for reacts, which is the other reason why I like this example. The first entry looked like this one, which looks a lot like the JSON. It's because JSON is very similar to dictionaries and Python data types. I had 33,000 likes of reactions in this category. That's a fair amount of data for my tiny MacBook Air, so I'm going to try and reduce the scope as soon as possible. So first off, I want to extract just the timestamps and the reaction type. Just a side note, there's going to be a lot of commented out code that didn't work in here, because it wasn't in a Git repository. I wanted to keep the history of all the ways that I messed up. So here's the matplotlibs.mdates thing, or dates thing. A thing that I learned about all these libraries is that they've all got different ways that you should import their things. When you're using like NumPy, it's like, oh, import NumPy as NP. When you're using matplotlib.pyplot, you're like, import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. That's not something beginners pick up. So I've got lambdas because I love lambdas. But first off, I have a list. I've confirmed that the list has content in it, which I think is an important thing. And it has a timestamp of the first like that I ever did. I don't know what the timestamp is. It's an epoch time format. I'll look at it later. But yeah, so NumPy, as I mentioned, NumPy as NP. NumPy.unique gives you a really nice format of unique things with a count next to them. It's similar to a command line tool that I often use called unique-c, which is really good. And then I've sorted it together, zipped them apart together again, and then sorted it a bit. So I've put the counts up next to my individual reactions here. I've got 21,000 likes, 6,600, loves, and then a few things and a few Dorothys. If you're wondering what a Dorothy is, there's sometimes like limited edition reactions that you can do on Facebook. I think this one was like a Thanksgiving or a Mother's Day or something, and you could react with a flower. I didn't have any fried reacts in there, which I was confused about, but I don't remember if I made any. So if anyone else sees any fried reacts in the reaction JSON, I'd love to see them. But also, I don't believe their data. I think I did way more loves than likes. So I'm going to cut the information down to just after love reactions and angry reactions and stuff were introduced. I've done that using an index call just to find the first index in it. It's sorted, should be pretty easy. I don't believe the results. It says that I only sent 2,000 reactions before the reactions were introduced. Also, this thing, apparently I did some haha reacts before I did any love reacts, which I think is false. But when I did it sorting by love reacts, it was wrong. So, yeah, so as we can see, still a lot of like reacts. I guess it makes a bit of sense. This isn't just reacts to posts, it also reacts to comments. I didn't really filter that out. So I guess I like a lot of comments and I like a lot of things. So my other stuff is all to do, which is great because I'm running out of time. I also want to figure out the membership of my messenger groups over time. A really interesting piece about my Facebook data is I'm a member of a several year-long 40-person Facebook group. This was started in university. It's called Beer O'Clock. At the moment, I think it's called Virtual Cute Party, which is great. It's been carefully curated over time. There's a lot of people still in there. It's full of lovely, supportive people and just generally nice. And I would really like to see like the messages over time, who's engaged. So if anyone wants to help me with that on Monday, that would also be lovely. So that's how I analyze my Facebook. There's a lot of other stuff that more people can do on it, and a lot of stuff that you can do about it yourself. But basically, well, just to jump back for a minute, the structure of Facebook, as I mentioned, is really complicated. The archive, 25 different folders, the format, the basic stuff is the posts, but there's a lot of other things in there as well. There's just a lot that you can do. I've barely scratched the format, the surface. It's quite hard to query it in APIs, a bit harder than Twitter, so it's not done as much. But there's still some literature out there about analyzing your own Facebook stuff. So my reactions, oh, that was a sparkly emoji. It got away my sparkly emoji. Oh, I feel cheated. In terms of takeaways for yourself, you can download your data from pretty much everywhere that doesn't want to be sued by the European Union. I've put links to a few of the download places of particularly common websites here. Facebook and Twitter, as I mentioned, pretty easy to go through. Google, a lot of data. I haven't downloaded this one, but I'm interested. I expect a lot of advertising information from them. Instagram, I don't use it, so it's not really relevant to me, but they definitely have it. You can actually download your old MySpace account. You have to log into MySpace Classic via the MySpace stuff, which was very complicated, so I didn't download it, but it's there. Snapchat, as long as you've got an email linked to your account, then you can download the information from there. Tumblr, since they got bought by Yahoo, that's really complicated. You have to like log in through a Yahoo page and then figure out what's going on. Slack is quite hard to download your own information, but there's an add-on that you can add to your Slack workspace to allow people to download their own stuff. Uber, you actually have to use a web scraper. They have a interface that you can go to look at your rides in the past, and then you have to download each of those pages manually. LinkedIn was surprisingly good at letting you download your information, and I want to see how many times I've uploaded all of my contacts without my permission, but haven't looked at it yet. I'm sure there's a lot more though, because it's not just social media sites that you can download your information from, it's anything that has your personal data on it, which is a lot of places. And yeah, so here are my sources. This is pretty basic stuff. I've put a lot of the Stack Overflow links that I used into those Jupyter notebooks. There's a lot of tabs open in my other windows that I'm going to have to put in as well, so the Jupyter notebooks won't be out for a couple of days. But yeah, thank you. I think maybe one question.
Yes, thank you so much for your talk, Caitlin. We have time for a few questions, but let's first give her a round of applause. One question.
This is a little bit of a switch on the topic. Thank you, by the way.
Can I play on
Do you know if there are ways that we can... So you talked about ways that we can access and read our data. You know if there are ways that we can write, that we can like...
modify your own...
or like delete old things if we want to delete a lot of stuff at once, or a particular type of thing?
Yeah, so the GDPR had a requirement that you would be able to delete your data from their servers, and for that to be automated. So the websites should make it possible for you to do it. It might not be easy. I know a lot of websites you have to actually email them for them to do it properly, so it may not be easy. I haven't looked into it myself.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Is this the actual data stored in the Facebook servers or Twitter servers? Like, is this the actual data?
I reckon the Facebook stuff it's just messy enough that it looks like it's part of something else, like it's actually part of their database. But the Twitter stuff, I reckon it's just an export. It's just the display that they're doing on it. Facebook didn't give me like the amount of time that I've spent scrolling through videos, which I think is quite important, and I think that they track that. And I would love to know how much time I've wasted. So it's not everything, but I think it's enough to comply. I know that things like Spotify, you can email them to get more data than they give on the automated interface. Yeah. So it's not everything, it's most of it.
Most of it, yeah. And if you do delete something, like, does it get deleted on the actual Facebook server itself?
I
for
hope
example?
so. They'd be sued so quickly if not. But I know that they leave a lot of stuff in other people's databases, but it just gets replaced with like Facebook user. I've got a lot of conversations that are just with Facebook user.
Thank you.
Alrighty, that's all we have time for. Let's thank Caitlin again.
Thank you very much.
And I have a mug to give you.
It has a cat on it.